Good evening, morning, afternoon. Hello to everyone. My name is Samuel Mr. Baneblade Harkins. I'm going to be doing another VOD analysis, this time of two games from the Prime League. The first, which will be this video, will be GamerLegion up against MyInsanity. I know maybe some people are going to say, "Ooh, it's a bit unfair. You were on GamerLegion, and you can be biased." Yes, probably. Fair disclaimer. But what I'm going to talk about in these two games is kind of just a contrast. The thing that's, I believe, really different between these two games and the two drafts and then the game plans and the executions that we see is something that a lot of teams in the regional leagues don't fully capitalize on. They don't really work towards, at least I don't see them working towards it, and is something that should be the binding factor of any team competing outside of professional play. Professional play, this gets a little bit different, it's more complex, but at this level of play, there's definitely, you have to really respect identity, team identity, and playing to the strengths of your team identity whilst trying to minimize playing to the advantages of the other team's identity. I'm going to see this in the draft. We're just going to go through it. I'll touch really quickly. GamerLegion obviously banning Elise, Java, and Casio. In MyInsanity meeting it with the Hyanan ban, Heimerdinger, Aphelios, and Set. So there's nothing wrong with these bans. They're all fine. Center is open, which I think is an always interesting idea. Akali also obviously comes open for GL. GL take the Akali. I like the Akali first pick personally. It's really nice. It's a flex pick. The key comes with the Akali here that I don't think you can ever reveal two solo lanes in your first rotation with the Akali if you aren't flexible enough in the jungle and in support to capitalize on the risk that's inherent from picking those solo lanes. So we're going to see, obviously, a very standard Misfortune Nautilus bot lane. Just as a note, Braum is open. I don't understand how teams can... I think it's really bad that teams are just picking MF, and for that matter, Nautilus, whilst the Braum is open. I don't think that's very... I think that's just inting, basically. Yeah. So, let's... okay. I want to depack the second round because this is where things go off the rail for me, and you sort of get away from the team identity. Taking the Rumble here, you're either committing that it's going into a side lane, mid or top, and you're saying that there's nothing you can pick that can beat Akali and Rumble. Because if there was, you would third pick it, because you've matched every other role, and you can match one of the side lanes. And they also haven't picked jungle here. So we're going to see that the jungle pool is going to get pinched. And further to that, we're going to see that the showing of two solo lanes so early means that MyInsanity now get to play a composition that benefits them. So for some context, Glowing and Novochrono are pretty well-known players within the German scene. Both of them like to be aggressive, Glowing very famously so. He loves the Aurelia, loves melee bruises, he loves to get in your face, very, very good at them. Novochrono is known for not... There was a Twitter debate that he's a one-trick Fiora. I don't think that's fair. I think he's better. He's on other champions. He's also fine. But he is well known for his Fiora in the same way that Blomsterfin is known for his Kled. It's not a one-trick. He can play other things. But if he sees the opportunity to pick the Kled, in this case the Fiora, he's going to pick them. Team identity. And we've seen in the past, just for Rogue, that this is successful. they have beaten teams that they were not tipped to win by playing a comfortable composition. And if you are a team that is tipped to win, you should never be allowing the opponent to play comfortable. That is not how you should be playing. It's more important for them to be uncomfortable than necessarily for you to be comfortable. But here, MyInsanity get a draft where they're going to be insanely comfortable. We'll continue watching. They're going to be insanely comfortable, but there's no counterbalance for GamerLegion. GamerLegion are also not really comfortable. I don't see Phones and Rabble being these. I don't think they would opt into the matchups they're given if they had the chance, I guess is the best way to say that. And that's why when I say that they're not comfortable, it's not that they're not comfortable on their champions, it's just that the matchups they're given are not the greatest for them. So we're going to see the supports get pinched. I think Braum doesn't actually get banned. I think they ban Wisdom's Thresh in this next part. Please ban Braum, guys. If MF is ever picked, please ban Braum. And we're going to see JL ban the Yasuo and the Aatrox, both of which are pretty decent picks into what they have. That's, I'm not 100% certain about the Aatrox. I guess Yasuo, the Yasuo. Yas Gragas is a nasty combo. You don't really want it. I don't want a Flame Glowing because, I coached him in the past, so maybe I have scrim bias, but I wouldn't want Glowing's Yasuo on my team personally. So I think that's a bit of a wasted ban. Maybe they could have banned Aurelia, his known champion. Doesn't really matter. Small detail. And we're gonna see that with the Aatrox banned and into into the Rumble and the Akali, Novakurna is going to take the Fiora. And this is where things are falling apart, in my opinion. You now have been denied Braum. Which, good ban by MyInsanity. I thought that they didn't ban it, but really good ban. It's actually, they picked the Thresh instead. Yeah, okay. Sorry. They were mixed up in my brain. Excellent bans by MyInsanity. It kind of does what you want. You get rid of the safety from bot lane, and now bot has a lane that's inherently sort of there to scale. Yeah, you can make picks with Thresh. Yeah, okay, Senna can bring some damage early, but Hyanen's not going to be running around 6-0 from a dominant laning phase, no matter how much better he is than Golden God. And then, so the one thing that GamerLegion lack here, the one thing that they don't have, and Rogue fell into this problem today, actually, as I've recorded this video. Teams fall into this, I don't know why. They see lots of meta picks, they go, oh, we have to take the meta picks, and the meta picks just don't make a composition, because at the end of the day, meta is less relevant than composition. And they take Olaf. Now, Olaf is fine into Gragas. That's nothing wrong there. Is fine into Nautilus, gets rid of the CC. So yeah, okay, I guess you're flexing that. I guess I can run into Dragon Pit and steal dragons now. But there's no way for GamerLegion to make an engage stick. They throw down the Rumble Ult. They fish with a hook, and if the person that gets hit by the Rumble Ult has Flash, or is Gragas, or Nautilus, or Kassadin, as we're about to see last, the engage doesn't stick because they're slippery. Then you picked Olaf, who also doesn't bring engage. He can run people down, but again, you can't really run down a Nautilus. You can't really run down a Gragas. You can't really run down a Kassadin. They're mobile. They're very, very mobile. The entire comp from MyInsanity's solo lanes and top side of the map basically is very mobile. Locking them down is difficult. And GL have played right into that. And these picks aren't unknown. In fact, quoting Delivery Panda, the coach for GL on Twitter, they expected the Fiora. So the question now has to come, if you expected this sort of mobility comp, why did you draft champions that didn't have engage? Ornn is still available. You could put Ornn support, you could put Rumble support, you can pick Jarvan jungle, you can pick... I mean, you could have picked Varus ADC. And Varus into Nautilus is a rough lane. But you'd already shown the Akali and Rumble. You need something that's going to be able to stick their feet in. And Senna can't do that. Senna doesn't give you the ability to stand in a team fight and just attack. And we're going to see that later that becomes a problem. The last pick here is going to be Kassadin, and then we're going to skip forward a little bit. But you can see already that MyInsanity have a team comp that just has to wait. All they have to do is wait. Because if they get to level 16, if they get into the late game, they're very safe, they're very secure. Their team composition does something that's very straightforward. It's not flashy, it's not... I don't want to say it's not difficult to execute, because it is quite difficult to execute, but it's not complex. It's very straightforward. The Miss Fortune's going to plant her feet, she's going to ult, the Nautilus is going to walk towards the backline, either the Akali or the Senna, and Kassadin is just going to jump in, and preferably murder the Rumble, and then the Akali, and then the Senna. Meanwhile, Fiora split pushes. And as long as GamerLegion can't siege effectively, as long as they are denied sieging, no one is ever going to challenge this Fiora in split push. And GamerLegion, on the other hand, have a fairly difficult composition to execute. It's complex to execute. Because you're looking for picks, you have to play around vision, and your win conditions aren't easy. You have okay Drake pressure, but you don't have bot or mid, or you don't have bot prio, and mid is, as we're going to see, unfair, just because of what happens in the early game. Thank you, VOD, for massive delay. Game's alive, I don't know why there's a massive delay. Yeah, so I don't care about the level 1s early. I'm going to use this time to talk about the win conditions. And there's a golden rule with playing with a new team. And this is their 4th official match. I'm going to call this still a new team. Keep it simple. You just need to keep your play simple. You don't need to win the game by being smarter than your opponent. You have to win the game by being a better team. And 99% of the time, that's true. The 1% of the time for a team like this is when you have to verse an opponent that is better than you. Then you have to be smarter, or you have to do something that's different, something that catches them off guard, pushes them outside of their comfort zone. But on paper, GL should be really happy about this game. They should think this should be a free win. But they definitely don't draft like it, and honestly, they don't really play like it either. And we're going to see a bit more of that as the game continues. What else? So, I mean, I could talk about how steep the win conditions for GL are in this game, because you need to set up picks, you need to play around the vision, you need... I mean, Rabble here actually gets so far ahead. He is so insanely far ahead from the pathing, because he just did a full bot side clear, which he matched with a full bot side clear. And now he's going to walk into Greenfire's jungle and get the blue, and I'm pretty sure he gets the Gromp. I could be wrong, but I think he... Okay, Greenfire gets the Gromp. Never mind. So Rabble doesn't end up that far ahead. Apologies. Rabble could have. And they're using Wisdom's pressure here to do that invade. That invade's really nice, by the way. Rabble loses nothing for it. He doesn't get as ahead as he could have if he didn't lose the Smite fight. But Mechanical, you know, we don't really talk about that. We're going to see that Knight bounced the third wave from mid to try and freeze it on Glowing. But the thing that's a bit mismatched here is, why would you do that if your Olaf is not going to... This flash, by the way, by phones is so bad. Body Slam didn't come out. There was no way you were getting out of that play. That flash was just possibly not the worst, but extremely irrelevant. Greenfire again. That also, why is Rabble walking up here? Just to give a kill to Novachrono. And here's what I said before as well. Rumble is never going to win the side against Fiora. Never. There's no point in this game where Rumble wins the 1v1 side split push. Or, sorry, after towers are down. I guess he can win lane. So, he pushes up. He's seen Gragas on bot side. Knows Gragas will recall. And still decides to push up. I guess because he sees Rabble there. But again, this is just a greedy mistake. That's just a terrible, terrible mistake. At this point in a competitive game, I think most people would call it over. Fiora 1-0-1 in a winning like a matchup she's supposed to lose early. Tilt flash, I mean, that's bad. That's just a lack of discipline. It's a really big lack of discipline, but not the end of the world. Actually, it kind of is the end of the world. Let's talk about that for 1 second. You made a play in top that it's not. Normally, it wouldn't be the end of the world. If this was, you know, a Aatrox top lane into the Rumble, you're not going to say it's the end of the world. You're going to say, oh, Rumble's ahead. The Aatrox is ahead. This is going to be annoying. But you're not saying, oh, well, the game's over. You know, there's nothing we can do now. But in this matchup, now you have to start sweating. Because top laners know what Fiora is capable of from ahead. There's more pressure now on GL to win the game quickly. Because the longer this game goes, the further ahead Novachrono is going to get. And what we're going to see is, because of that panic of, ooh, he's ahead, this is a really good gank, by the way. Wisdom's Thresh is really clean. Small problem, they forgot about teleports. And now Novachrono is going to get even further ahead. And, okay, let's go back. So, because of the original gank and Phones burning his TP so early, Novachrono is allowed to walk back to lane. Which means when this gank happens, yes, it's a good gank. Yes, Wisdom plays this phenomenally. But it doesn't matter. Because you're trading a kill onto an Olaf who's going to eventually become useless and do nothing, onto a kill for Fiora, whose TP you surely had to know was up. They even get 2 kills. And I guess getting a kill onto Nautilus is irrelevant. But I mean, it gets tankier, I guess. I disagree with the move from Glowing here to come down. I think if Glowing had stayed in mid, he gets free CS and then can move. He would shove this wave in and reset the lane, And then MyInsanity would be able to do the Infernal here even more free. So, again, the summary here is GL have made mistakes. That's definitely true. GL have made blunders macro-wise. And that is very much the reason they are losing, and that's going to end up being the reason that they lose. But the team comp that they have and the way that they assembled that team comp doesn't help them. It doesn't go out of their way to help them. And that is, I think, fundamentally a problem from a team that has clearly struggled with an identity problem. If you look at how they play, they are not clean. When they played against SK, the game was back and forth. And let's look at how good SK are now, right? SK are 3-1. They have played really good games, messy games, but good games. They're 3-1. You can't deny they're doing well. They're a good team. You know, GamerLegion took it to them, and and that was in the first game. They played. I don't want to say well because that's maybe goes against the point that I'm saying, but they played against SK and challenged SK, who are now 3-1 and have an excellent record. They took it to big and they won the game with their aggression. Now they're playing against MyInsanity, and rather than keeping up with this hyper aggressive style, they've taken Akali, which is a one item champion, Rumble, which is like it's sort of a one item champion, except that for Unza's building Seeker's Arm Guard because he's so far behind, and you know it's useful at first Drake, but then you have Senna Thresh, which doesn't work well at first Drake, and an Olaf, which, you know, great early game, really good aggressive, but it's gonna teeper off at the end. They're trying to play this hyper aggressive, fast paced style, and it's not working. And the question has to be, is it a problem with the identity? Is it a problem with the discipline associated with it? Or do they just need easier comps? Just give them comps that press R 5 times. And that's I mean, that kind of has to be looked at. Because as we're going to see, GamerLegion turned this game around. They turned this game around and they're damn good players. But what's going wrong? That's the question you kind of have to ask. Is what's going wrong? And I don't want to just praise, you know, GL or Flame GL. MyInsanity have a really good start to this game. First game with glowing, by the way. First game with glowing. And so far, they've looked good in macro. They've looked good at Greenfire here. That flash and the cask were just, again, a lack of discipline that you find in regional league teams. You ult. Obviously, you should just ult Thresh in that situation. There's a pause. Back in the game. You know, they're playing with glowing for the first time. They're picking a comp that is ultra late game with the Fiora and the Kassadin. And given that GL has shown a style for playing sort of aggressive and, you know, early game investment, I think that's a ballsy call from MyInsanity. Now, granted, when they picked the scaling, they kind of knew that they weren't going for that sort of Talia Bard bot lane, so it does make a little bit more sense. But I think this was a ballsy call from MyInsanity in draft to just scale it up. Yeah, and you know, credit where credit's due. Neverchrono has played this pretty well, saving the TP, not pushing to get his lane further ahead. The early game from Novochrono actually is basically the creed of how you should play every game. When you get ahead in a game, don't try to end the game. Because trying to end the game is going to you're going to force mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. I don't know what Greenfire just did. I really don't understand what Greenfire just did. Oh, okay. I guess he DC'd. That's... I didn't even notice that the first time I watched. That's so unfortunate for Greenfire. Yeah, well, that sucks. Anyway, when you're ahead, don't try to end the game. Because trying to end the game, if you're too forceful, and you make a mistake, you can throw a lead. When you're ahead, try to get further ahead, and find the next win condition that gets you further ahead. That might be a tower. That might be a tempo advantage. That might be a teleport advantage, as it was here. What Novochrono did, and it's basically the perfect example of how to get further ahead. Good team fight from GamerLegion. Really unfortunate that Novochrono gets the kill. Glowing joins with the teleport. So, the way that Novochrono played the early game is credit where credit's due. He played it exactly how he should have to get the furthest ahead that he could. He saved the teleport, he waited for them to make a play bot, he exploited it, and yes, GamerLegion admit later that they screwed up. They shouldn't, they didn't time the teleport correctly. They didn't track the teleport correctly. That was the problem. But even then, it's more that they just didn't know this was a bad catch. Europa, the entire MyInsanity team is kind of out of position here. They don't have Kassadin TP, they don't have the Misfortune Bullet time. There's no reason to contest this Drake right now. If GamerLegion wanted to take it, just let them. The second Drake here, Cloud, it's great, because I guess you get bullet time more often. But it's also kind of okay for GamerLegion to have, because the only one that's really impactful that you're going to use off cooldown is maybe the Equalizer, so this is nice for Akali ult. I haven't actually played it with Akali, so I know. It's 10%. It's okay. It's 18 seconds. I guess you don't really use Akali ult off cooldown, though. 18 seconds, though. Yeah. It's nice. Both teams like it. They're fine with it. Just give it up. You don't need to die there. GL get gold input for nothing. Yeah. This game so far has kept with the motive of being not the cleanest. Both teams have made mistakes. And we're going to see, remember that this is part one of two parts, right? Remember that this unclean play is not unique to GL. It's not unique to MyInsanity. This is something that regional teams are just not capable of playing to a level that allows them to play deathless, that allows them to play cleanly, essentially. That was just a terrible catch by Greenfire. I don't think there's really an excuse for why he was out of position so hard there. He has had some connection issues. Maybe he lagged, actually. And they're just not complaining about it. I don't know. But that was a horrendous catch. Novochrono 3-0. I'd actually be pretty terrified to fight him, because if he gets more kills, even if he trades 1-for-1 at this point, that's still good for him. And now, let's go back and ask ourselves, why did we pick the Rumble? 0-1-0. We haven't played around it. We haven't played around the equalizer because it's been forced on, all-ins from the Fiora. Where are we getting value from at the moment? We're not. And in my opinion, throughout the entire game, we don't get value. I would have rathered almost anything else. That was the value of the equalizer just then. Misfortune pressed R, Rumble pressed R. Now your engage tool is gone. Like, what else do you have to follow up on that? You literally don't have an engage tool anymore, but you traded it for bullet time, so I guess MyInsanity also don't engage. They don't want to. They have a Fiora. Yeah, not sold. I'm really not sold. The other thing is, the thing that's even more infuriating is that Rumble is a really good pick for mid lane, and it's kind of trash in top lane. And if you look back at the VOD that I did with Ibraz is a very proficient Rumble player, and he talks about it that Rumble top lane isn't as exploitive as Rumble mid lane. And the Rumble mid lane is so good, and it's picked, the 100% LPL presence, which I went on and on about when I was talking about the Rumble. 100% presence. That 100% presence is there because of his ability to play mid lane, get priority against anyone, basically, and be 3/4 of the way down river, press R and influence bot. That's where the Rumble priority comes from. But instead we're seeing him picked here in top lane where he can't influence any lane. He can't go mid and influence the Kassadin. Kassadin R's away. He can't go into the jungle. Gragas belly Sam's away or R's the Rumble and makes a 1v1 for the Olaf, which he still doesn't win. You're already winning that matchup. There's nothing to influence. This was bad by... I don't want to say it was bad by Glowing because I think he should have known he can't survive in that lane. But he burns a lot of resources there, and in return, MyInsanity to get a Drake, which is good. They are stacking the Drakes. They're adding that timer to GL, saying, "Look, we're at 2 Drakes in 10 minutes' time. If we get another 2, that's Soul and Fiora with Soul, Fiora Kassadin with Soul. No, thank you. It's not for me." GL are taking towers. This is going on in the League community a lot. Another equalizer that, I don't think achieved much. I don't think MyInsanity should have been there in the first place. Stop defending this tower. This is something that I see a lot debated by the casters. Is what's better, Drakes or gold? And the discussion is kind of about the early game. They're basically, what's better, an early game Drake or an early game tower? And most people come to the consensus that early towers are the best. I think it depends on composition. If you have a composition that's going to be ahead of the curve at the time 4th Drake spawns, and you get gifted a free Drake, you should take it. But in general, I agree. I think, for the most part, towers gold are really good. I like dragon stacking personally, but you have to have a comp that can do it. Not, you can't just have any random comp. And here, I think MyInsanity kind of can dragon stack. Depends on if GamerLegion decide to play like Origin, play around the Baron, and then maybe they fuck up, get forced off the Baron while Fiora solos the Drake. It can happen. I don't think it's a bad idea. They definitely don't win the early game, so getting free Drakes is fine. But the top tower here, and remember that GamerLegion was sieging the 2nd tower in top lane. This tower doesn't really mean anything. It's security for Baron, yes, but there's no hard engage from GL. So if the Kassadin gets out, he's out. They don't catch him. If Misfortune gets out, she pops strut, she's out. They don't catch her. The Gragas can barrel and body slam. I don't think the tower is that important. In the words of LS, I think it's a financial tower. Yes, GL get gold out of it. They get slight positional advantage. They don't really gain anything from it. It's not mid tower. It's not mid tier 2. You know, they don't really get as much as you might see from it. So honestly, MyInsanity shouldn't have defended it. I think defending it was a mistake. They lost 2 people for it, but they got the Drake. So I think they could have got the Drake without losing 2 people. Honestly, small mistake, you know. And it costs them, right? GamerLegion are getting ahead. This was the thing that you didn't want. If GamerLegion get ahead after you already got ahead, you know, or you already had such a great early game where your your Fiora is just so far ahead. You don't need to. Oh my lord, Knight ulting in like that was. I didn't see that actually. Just watch this. Watch Knight. Watch Knight here. He lanterns forward and then ults into the. I think he. I don't know if he misclicked that. I don't think he intended to take that line into the bullet time. That's a little bit unfortunate for Knight. I hadn't seen that before. That sucks. Mechanical mistake. Yeah. So for MyInsanity, they had the perfect early game possible for their Fiora, and the game is stalling, which is what they want. GamerLegion are forcing on a tower that's acceptable to lose, and at the same time you're taking Dragon. Just leave the tower. Just walk away from the tower. Threaten. You can threaten, then walk away. That's all you needed to do top lane. Okay, sorry about that. This game now has stalled. Nothing has really happened. But the longer this game stalls, the closer that Kassadin gets to level 16, and the closer Fiora gets to becoming unstoppable in the side. And we're going to see it. GamerLegion are taking Drake now, and Fiora is top lane, creating an even bigger lead, taking another tower. Again, I don't think this tower is the most important, but it's one more tower that Fiora took. That's 300 gold into her pocket. That's a financial tower, not into, that's not into the why are you taking. Do you win this? Yeah, okay. Knight was angry that he took the lantern and died, so he needed to get the kill back. Greenfire gets caught again. Good ult to get away from Wisdom. The hook doesn't land, but he still dies because Olaf can run him down. And bullet time is up. Kasten's alive. Kasten has Rift Walk. Fiora has TP as well, which I guess is important. But the important part is the bullet time just got used. And yeah, you traded for Equalizer, but you're tanking the Baron, guys. Like, you tank Baron here. The longer that you fight in this Baron pit, the more damage you are getting done. So it's delayed. TP comes in. Does this int, actually? This is int. That was so int by I don't think he should have TP'd there. So, MyInsanity don't really juggle the Baron that well, and they lose it. GamerLegion get the first Baron. They burn quite a lot to get it. They burn the flash off Senna, the flash off Akali. But they get the Baron. Right now, GamerLegion have a 3-minute window to win the game. And I think that if they don't win the game in the 3 minutes, it's pretty unanimous that they are not going to win the game at all. without some sort of major screw-up from MyInsanity. And, I mean, Novakrona, you didn't win this matchup before, buddy. This... Actually, I don't hate this, because he's kind of... He got rid of the Equalizer. He got rid of Center Ult. I don't even know what that's called, by the way. I used to be a caster. He got rid of this... Ooh. He gets rid of Rumble Equalizer and Center Ult. Huh. Is that why GamerLegion lose this next fight? That would be really interesting. Because if they do, then that int from Novakrona was actually 100 IQ. Wisdom going in here is just int. You never follow up on that hook. Never in a million years follow up on that hook. And I think the second he went in on that, he knew that it was a bad idea. And I feel bad because Wisdom plays so freaking well in these games. And he's, one mistake and it sort of trashes. Here's the problem now. You don't have Rumble Ult. So you have no engage. It's coming up. It comes up. You have no Center Ult. Fiora is alive again. You use the ults. Senna dies. Kassadin gets a free kill. Do they need to take this fight? So this is int, I think. They get bullet time, which is good. Gragas ult is down. Fiora is about to respawn. You've taken one inhib. Fiora doesn't have TP. Could they play this slower? Do they re-engage? They do. They don't need to re-engage here. They don't need to commit the Rumble ult. Because it's a 5v4. And even though they kill Nautilus really early, they do so by using the Rumble ult again. And now it's really difficult to clean up this fight. And because it's difficult to clean up this fight, Misfortune gets to free hit everyone. They needed to walk away. Or the Rumble ult to be better, but they needed to walk away. And now the game is kind of just over. The Baron is gone. Fiora is still ahead. I'm still not convinced that this Rumble pick was worth it. And now Kassadin has 3 items. Nearly at... He has to be nearly at Seraph's, I guess. Watch this. They can just leave. After this Nautilus hook misses, watch. Just leave. Like, that Equalizer does nothing. They get a free kill. Just leave. How many opportunities do they have to leave, actually? Akali, Knight, and Phones could have left. But they think they can outplay it. And I'm never a fan of that, because if you're the favorites, don't try to outplay, just get ahead. Don't try to outplay. In competitive, there was no need to continue that push. They could have saved 2 Barons. I don't know how long for, not super long. They could have saved 2 Barons. Maybe they get one more wave. They get Drake anyway. It's actually not the worst if MyInsanity didn't have the scaling of Fiora Kassadin. So, I don't know. Pick your poison, right? GL fumbled the execution. And because they fumbled the execution, the scaling from MyInsanity is relevant. But if they banned the scaling and they fumble the execution against early game, maybe it's worse. So you pick your poison a little bit. Honestly, GL have a lot of positives, actually. Like, looking at how they play, there's a lot of positives. They play kind of okay as a team. They are grouped a lot. But their decision-making as a team is letting them down a little bit. And is that going to be relevant? We don't know. The rest of the seasons, there's a long time. They are getting better. They had a rough first 2 weeks. But I don't think they're doing themselves favors in draft. I think trying to mess around with too unconventional. Also, this, like, okay. They go into MyInsanity's jungle. They're losing top prio here. So it's going to push in. Bot is also pushing in. Rumble and Akali don't have TPs. So you're kind of saying right now, we are giving up bot. There's nothing to do. But then, after taking all this vision, they just reset. I don't. You're just giving 30, 60, 90, 100 gold to MyInsanity. That was literally all that just did. It didn't give them vision. It didn't give them pressure. It cost them 75 gold for each ward or each control ward, and gave gold to MyInsanity. Irrelevant amounts of gold, yet gold all the same. And now, after you clear the vision and MyInsanity know that you're on Baron, you start it. With Fiora's pushing. So now you're on a timer. If you don't commit to this Baron, this Fiora is going to end the game, guys. There's no question. Fiora is going to end this game if you don't commit to the Baron. Equalizer, again, does absolutely nothing. Fiora is ending the game, by the way. And so you go for the desperation fight, 4v4. Because, 4v4, surely we win, guys. No. Oh, 5v4, sorry. 5v4. Because the Fiora's not there. Double TP comes out for the Akali and the Rumble. So Nova Chrono just stopped the Baron and got 2 TPs. So now GamerLegion can't do Baron again. They can't start Baron. Because if they start Baron, there are no TPs to get back to base. So, but they had to double TP. I don't think a single person can stop the Fiora there. Maybe I'm wrong. Shout out Nova Chrono if you want to come in and chime in. Do you think one person could have stopped you there? Could Akali stop you? Knight did solo kill him before, but now he has more completed, so I'm not 100% convinced. Yeah, don't think he can be stopped by one person. He's playing around vision so well, by the way. Nova Chrono here plays around vision so well. He knows he's not spotted. Completely just allows himself to go back. MyInsanity have walked into the Baron pit again, and they're just playing the Baron dance really well. From what I was told, Glowing was doing the macro calls here, so kudos to Glowing. That's insane that, they're playing to this sort of pretty high level. Goodbye. Phones gets half healthed by one Kassadin combo. why they decided to go in here is beyond my belief. Like, okay. So, MyInsanity, clear vision. They use box. They get nothing. There are phones get chunked into oblivion. They use center alt. They use rumble alt. They get nothing. They use Olaf ult, and Akali dies. By the way, you're being TP'd on in your base. Even if they win this fight, right? Even if GL won that fight, which they do actually, you know, they just won the fight. It doesn't matter because you end the game. So what was the purpose of going in here? You can't see Fiora. You know she has TPs. You know she has TP. You know you don't have TPs. Why are you engaging? Why is phones tanking? Where like this entire fight just shows that they can't play around the difficult win conditions of juggling such a hard team composition. Because that is basic. This was an unforced error. And GL fucked up. Pardon my language. So, if you expected the Fiora, which again, we're quoting the GamerLegion coach here. If you expected the Fiora, you had to have a plan for the split push. But the plan was to draft no engage, no hard engage, with a pick composition against a team that's pretty okay checking things with the Misfortune, the Gragas, and then Kassadin. So overall, I just don't like the game plan. I don't like the draft in what it does to set up the players because I think that they're being set up to have to win early game really hard. And we've seen Hyanan on the big stage. We've seen Knight play superbly. I am biased because I have worked a lot with Wisdom. I know that he is a monster at making calls. And when people listen to him, which they're clear, like they are listening, or they were listening to him before in the Bard game, you can see that he's making insane plays. Wisdom is popping off. But this game, the draft just shoots them in the foot. And I think if they had any other draft, they probably win this game with the lead that they get, or like the mid game that they have. But drafting such low scaling, that's not drafting so low engage with so many options for split push for mines